Hello everyone, welcome to Mathematics Meal, a beautiful program designed for beautiful students and also for handsome students. This program is generally designed to ensure that students improve in the study of mathematics. Now, we have been looking at plane geometry and we have laid foundation for plane geometry. We have looked at the meaning of geometry. We have considered different forms of lines. And we have also looked at types of angles. We also considered the relationship that exists between lines and angles, where we saw that adjacent angles on a straight line, the sum of adjacent angles on a straight line is 180 degrees. We said that sum of angles at a point will give us 360. We say when we use intersecting lines, vertically opposite angles are equal. We also say that the sum of angles formed by perpendicular lines will give us 90 degrees. We also talked about the angles in relation with parallel lines and transversal lines. We say that using parallel lines and transversal lines, we can show that corresponding angles are equal and also alternate angles are equal. So our business today is to look at calculations of angles on line. Calculation of angles on lines. And before we move on to this calculation, there is need for us to look at some important points that will help us in this calculation. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and also like our Facebook page. It's very, very important. Share our videos so that other people can also benefit from these particular wonderful programs. All right. Let's look at the basic points that we need to consider before we can now begin calculation proper. So we say it this way. To calculate angles on lines, we consider the following. Consider the following. One, take note of the given and unknown angles as you study the figure. We know that most of the questions that will be given to us as far as lines and angles are concerned usually come in form of a figure, a drawn figure. So as you study the figure, take note of the given and the unknown angles. Some of the angles will be given, and those angles that are given or that will be given to us will be the angles we are going to use to find the unknown angle or the unknown angles, because in some cases we may have more than one unknown angle. So there is need for us to study to know the given angles and then also the unknown angles, to identify them, even as we study the figure. Okay? Number two, the second thing that we need to consider when we are trying to calculate angles on lines, because why we are trying to lay this foundation is so that when you have a question, you will know what to do in order to solve the problem. Problem on angles have created a lot of challenges, has been a serious challenge to many students because they don't know how to go about it, especially when the figures are relatively complex. So students don't really know what to do in order to solve such problems. So when we take note of the given and the unknown angles as you study the figure, the next thing you look at is establish a relationship between the given and unknown angles. So the next thing we do is to establish a relationship between the given angles and the unknown angles. Now, there are relationships that exist between given and the unknown angle as far as lines and angles are concerned. Now, we took time in our last video to look at those relationships, like adjacent, sum of adjacent angles on a straight line is equal to 180. Sum of angles at a point is 360. Vertically opposite angles are equal, corresponding angles are equal, alternate angles are equal, and then in a perpendicular, the sum of angles there will give us what? 90 degrees. Now, these relationships that I just mentioned are the only relationships that concern lines and the what? And angles. So anytime we want to carry out a calculation, we must connect the known angle or the given angle with the unknown angle using any of those relationships. You must link them using any of those relationships. You ask yourself, are these angles related by the fact that they are adjacent angles on a straight line? Are they angles at a point? Are they corresponding angles? Are they alternate angles? Are they vertically opposite angles? Do we have a perpendicular line so that we'll now start talking about whether their sum will give us what? 90 degrees. So all these relationships, one of them or two of them or three of them will be used as the case may be, depending on the number of angles you are trying to calculate, must be used to connect the angles that were given to us and the ones we are asked to do what? Calculate. So it will be an error for someone to manufacture something from nowhere in order to establish a relationship between the what? Between the given angles and the known and the unknown what? Angles. So for you to establish this relationship, there is already existing relationships that exist between lines and the what? And angles. All right. So that's the second point that we need to take. The third one, very important. If there is no direct relationship between the given angles and the unknown angles, then we must establish a relationship, we must establish a relationship by doing any of the following on the figure appropriately. By doing any of the following on the figure appropriately, what are the possible things we can do? Extending a line or producing a line. We can also draw a line through a point. You can also, there are many things, possible things, depending on the nature of the figure given to you. We can also draw a parallel line through a point or extend a parallel line or transversal line, and so on and so forth. We can also add this one, extending a line, producing the draw a line through a point. We can also join 2 points, etc. So, when you now check, remember we said that you must establish a relationship between the given angle and the what? Unknown angle. But in a situation where you now check, there is no direct relationship. If there is no direct relationship between the given angles and the unknown what angles, then we must establish a relationship by doing any of the following on the figure appropriately. You must look for the one that will be suitable for the figure given to you. And what is that? And there may be need for us to maybe extend a line. If extending that line can help us establish a particular relationship, we do that. There may be need also for us to draw a line on the existing figure, maybe through a point. So we say we can draw a line through what? A point. We can do that. We can still draw parallel lines, or we can draw a transversal line. We can extend the transversal line, depending on the figure given to you. By the time we start doing calculation, you will now begin to see what all this, or the implication of all this. You begin to see that. You see that there are some figures that will be given to you. The known angle, that's the given angles, and the unknown angles. They don't have any direct relationship. So you now need to do any of these things to establish a direct relationship between them. All right, we move on. We move on. So that's on this. So we can stop here. These are the primary things that we need to consider in order to do carry out what? Calculations. These are the primary things that we need to do in order to carry out calculation. Once you establish that relationship, then you can actually do what? Solve your problem. But if you don't have a relationship, a connection between the given angle and the unknown angle, then you have no right to carry out the calculation. Let me just use a figure to illustrate this before I make few other points, and then we start carrying out calculations. Supposing I have this figure now, and maybe I have this, and I'm looking for x. Let's say that this line is parallel to this line, and I have this, and here is 310, and I have this. Let's say here is 290. Now, someone may look at this, they are looking for x. Someone will look at this and say, how am I going to, I'm looking for x, what connects this? The person will now say that this is angle at a point. But x is not at the same point with what? 310. Person will do 310 minus 360 minus 310. Person will have 50. But that's not what connects 310 and the what? X. Person will have 50. When you now ask the person, what of these 290? You say, okay, what we are going to do is that we throw this one away. You know, students, they do a lot of things away once it comes to mathematics. They do a lot of throwing away. So the person will say, we throw 290 away. Ask the person reason, say because it's the smaller number. What kind of reason is that? It's unmathematical, it's anti-mathematics. It has no business with mathematics. Totally unmathematical. So when you now say you throw this one away, is that how you throw things away? You just looked at a figure, you are now throwing 290 away. What did 290 do to you? That you will not consider it in this calculation. So if we look at this figure, there is no direct relationship between this, and this. So we must establish one. We must look for something that we have to do in order to solve the problem. Now, there are a few more points that we need to take note of. Few more points. I will write them under this note. I'll write them under this note. In some cases, we may need to assign letters to some angles that will help us, In some cases, we may need to assign letters to some angles that will help us to find the unknown angles. What do we mean by that? What we mean is that there are angles that may be connected to the word unknown angles or the unknown angle that we may need to find first. So we assign letters to them and then find them in order to find the unknown angle. So in some cases, we may need to assign letters to some angles that will help us find the unknown angles. In this case now, we find those angles first and then use them to find the unknown angles. So if there is an angle within the figure that we feel that we need to find in order to find the angle we are asked to find, that is in order to find the unknown angle, what we need to do is to give them letters and then find them first and then use them to find the unknown angles. Finally, let me say this. The short form for representing angles is or and the position of an angle is at the middle letter of the three letters describing the angle. So the position of an angle is at the middle letter of the three letters describing the word, the angle. And this is the short form of angle. So when we see something like this, this means angle ABC, angle ABC. Or I can write this ABC, angle ABC. Now, angle ABC, the location of the angle is at B, because B is the middle letter here. So this is angle ABC, which means angle ABC formed by line AB and line what? BC. So the angle is located at B. If I use a little figure here because of space, if I have this, let's say I have this and that and that, and then I extend this, I have this, and I have P, let's say I have P, I have Q, I have R, I have X, I have T. In this figure now, we have this. This is a figure. There are so many angles here. We have an angle here, have an angle here, we have an angle here, we have an angle here, we have an angle here. Because angles are formed when two straight lines meet. So this line and this line, they met here, so they form an angle. Now what we are saying is that the location of the angle is at the middle what letter of the three letters that are describing the angle. If I say angle PRX, let's say I say angle PRX. Let's say I say this now. PRX. So the middle letter is R. So this is the angle I'm talking about, angle PRX. That's it. PRS. The angle PRS is the angle R formed by line PR and RX. So you look at this PR, then RX. So the angle between the two lines is the angle of interest here. So angle PRS. If the angle I'm talking about is angle PQR, then you look at it from P to Q to R. So you look at the two lines. The angle between those two lines is the angle of interest. So the location of an angle is the middle letter of the three letters that describes the word, the angle. So angle PRS, we saw it here. If I talk about angle SRT, it will be this angle here. SRT is the angle at R formed by lines what? SR and RT. So this is the angle here. Very important. Very important. Most times when students are asked, find, except you say, find the unknown letter. Maybe they use X or they use a small letter, upper, lowercase letter, and just indicate, they use it to indicate the angle. Students can easily find that. But when they now say, find angle this, angle SUT, they will start saying, does it mean I should find angle X? I should find angle U, and I also find angle T. No. It means that you should find the angle located at U formed by what? Line SU and line UT. So if I'm asked to find angle PRQ or angle RPQ. So angle RPQ. We go this way, that way, that way. So I'm talking about this. RPQ. The middle letter is P. That's where the angle is located. But we must know the lines that form this. So if I want to talk about RPQ, that's how I move. R to P, P to Q. So what's the angle between those two lines? Remember, I drew two lines now. R to P, a line, and then P to Q. So the angle between the two lines that I have drawn, that's the angle of what? Interest. Very important. So these are the basic points that we need to consider. It is important, in short, without this, there is going to be problem in trying to do calculations as far as angles on lines are concerned. So there is need for you to master this. Very, very important. Without mastering this, there is going to be a serious problem. You will find it difficult trying to solve these problems. All right, we are going to take a short break, and when we return, we are going to start applying these important points together with the relationships that exist between lines and angles. Then we use these two things to carry out calculations as far as angles on lines are concerned. Continue to enjoy mathematics meal. Of a truth, the only way you can look healthy in mathematics is to take a meal in mathematics a day. A day without a meal in mathematics is like a day that is wasted. Continue to enjoy mathematics meal. The more mathematics you know, the more attractive you become. Oh yes, I'm telling you the truth. Don't I look attractive to you? Don't lie. I'm attractive enough to you. Don't mind me. Remember, mathematics mail will be back shortly. So don't go too far. We shall continue when I return. Thank you and God bless you.